Hello everybody, my name is Aceface. Today we're going to be testing out some marauders in nullsec ratting. I've been thinking about doing this for quite a long time. This right here is on the test server because right now I'm not situated in nullsec. I would have liked to do that, but right now our corporation has not got like a really steady place of being in nullsec, so I'm doing this on the test server right here, and I found a good way to, if you guys like curious of testing new fits in nullsec and you want to do it on the test server, is that you go somewhere in highsec where there's like one of these stations where, or an NPC even station like in nullsec somewhere that has all these like free stuff or almost free stuff where everything costs 100 ISK. So you just buy the ship for free, and then what you can do is, if you want to like just TP to a good place, because thing is, I've noticed that in NPC nullsec on the test server there's not so many anomalies, so that's why. And usually the player-owned systems of nullsec tend to have more anomalies. I think it's something to do with like the modules you can place down or the structures or something like that. But you can use these like needle jack filaments. So these ones are like needle jack, like these ones here. Like this is the one here I used because I just used this and it just instantly TP'd me to Sanchez Nation nullsec. So this is pretty cool right here. I can just go here and I just happen to be in a system which had a haven and a sanctum. So we're going to be using a golem right here, and the reason I wanted to try this is because I was just curious. I've been using marauders a lot for L4 missions, but I was curious, how do they fare against nullsec anomalies, because I know that a lot of people do a lot of ISK making by going through these anomalies right here, and I want to see how it feels like to use the marauders, because I've never actually done it before when it comes to the nullsec. My history of doing stuff in nullsec has mainly been in pirate battleships, because last time I was in nullsec, it was before all the marauder buffs happened. So this is almost like going to be like a mini Dreadnought, you could say. Alright, let's warp to this Sanctum right here. I've got the EM missiles loaded, and I've got this MJD to be able to go and pull range. And we're using the hybrid tanked golem that I have been using before for L4 missions. I think that this would be a good way of like tanking stuff when it comes to nullsec. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it might be good when it comes to like if someone were to go and try to get you. Because the thing is, I'm not sure though. The reason is because I know that in like highsec, right, when you get ganked, especially when marauders get ganked, then it's usually the case that like there's overwhelming DPS. Okay, there's overwhelming DPS. So it's not like it's going to be a case of like that you have like incoming DPS that's close to the amount of active tank as you are tanking. There's not going to be as like close incoming DPS as close to how much of your active tank is going to be. It's probably going to be a lot more incoming DPS. But the thing is, I think in nullsec it could be that maybe the incoming fleets who are trying to get you, hunting fleets, maybe they don't have as much incoming DPS as gank fleets in highsec, because I can imagine the way it works in highsec, the people are trying to input as much DPS as possible to kill you as quick as possible before Concord arrives. But here, it's not really the case. There's no time limit, so they're probably not going to be as much incoming DPS. So maybe it could be better if you want to have like a marauder that wants to like have more survivability, just have as much active tank as possible. Because here, we're going with like a very big buffer, like as if I was in highsec. So we've got the big buffer right here, field extender 2, large shield extender, and I got Nirvana implants in, and this extra large shield booster is only here to just complement it a bit, like if I wanted to do a little bit of boosting like this, not really meant to be using it for a while. So I don't know, maybe it could be better in nullsec to go with like a shield boost amplifier and maybe EM shield reinforce or something else here, because you can think about it like this: if you've got like DPS that's incoming and it's a lot greater than your like rep or your amount of active tank or how much recharge you have per second, then it's just better to go with a buffer tank, because that'll give you most amount of survivability. But say you're getting relatively low incoming DPS, then maybe you could even have enough like rep to almost completely negate that incoming DPS, so that you're like basically fully tanking it. I don't know, maybe it could be good or it could be not good. I mean, people do have these like dreadnoughts that are incoming, but I'm not too experienced with getting hunted in nullsec because I was never really hunted that much. I was lucky enough to usually get out before someone were to get me. I paid a lot of attention in local when I used to rat in nullsec, but I'm just trying to think of ways that you could have a ship that would be somewhat like have a somewhat ability of tanking or surviving incoming fleets, so that you could call your friends to come out and help you, because that's really the name of the game here. And even nullsec, you have a lot of friends nearby. They can come and help you out if, or hopefully they could come and help you out if you're getting wrecked by some other people. So I thought that here I'm going to split up the groups here so that I split up the DPS a bit. But I don't know, maybe it could be better to just focus fire, because they have got a bit of reps, like singular reps, and they're going to play a bigger role if we have split up a DPS. It goes back to what I was saying before. Like, when we split it up damage, then we have less DPS per ship, and their reps are going to sort of percentage-wise play a bigger role than they were if we were to focus on each other, because they will, if we focus, then they won't have as much time to rep, so effectively there will be less HP to get through. I don't know, maybe it could be good on the battleships to focus fire. I'm not 100% sure. I definitely think on these battle cruisers it's good to just like destroy them like we're doing right now. Let's see now. It could be also good, I've seen what some people do, is that they put like Nosferatus or neutralizers, I think it's, yeah, neutralizers. Because say there comes a ship that wants to intercept you and scramble you, then you can newt him out, and hopefully newt him out, so that he drops scram, and then you're able to get out of there. So that could be an option as well. Instead of the tractor beams, I mean, I'm not getting any use out of these. Could probably have like a neutralizer, maybe like a heavy one or something. Triple heavy ones even, maybe, that would be quite cool. You can see here. The neutralizer. And then heavy neutral X-type. X-type has a lot of power grid. You see that there? That's a lot of power grid. Maybe a A-type. Like this. And you have this, and you just drain their capacitor real fast. The Sanchez Sanctums are quite interesting because they're like the most, you could say, quote-unquote, difficult NPC anomaly in nullsec. The Sanctum variants are like the highest level. They can give the DED 10 out of 10s, I believe, as well. Also the Havens, but these are sort of considered to be the most difficult ones. They have the most amount of ships, but it doesn't seem like they're having as many frigates. And frigates are usually what I find to be quite annoying when you are ratting in battleships. I remember back when I used to rat in nullsec a long time ago, I was using a rattlesnake, and the frigates felt so annoying because they just took almost the same amount of speed to get through as a battleship because of how hard it was to apply to them. But also my fits were sort of trash back in the day, many years ago, where I would have very minimal tracking modules or not really that great tracking modules, so I wouldn't really apply that well to them. My skills weren't either that great either. Would be a lot better now. I wouldn't be surprised if this Golem right here could probably like or 2-shot or 3-shot a frigate. I think it'll be pretty good because the target painter really helps. Like, you can get some good application from this. But I like the idea of being really far away and shooting these guys to cruise missiles. It would obviously be better in terms of time to use torpedoes. That could be an option. But I feel like it might be a little bit safer to use the cruise missiles because you have got a bit of a distance. If someone is going to come in and try to kill you, then at least you're going to have this distance, maybe have a little bit of time to react. So that, you know, if say there's an interceptor right here, you can maybe try to snipe his face on the way here while you're going out of Bastion or something like that. I don't know. I mean, experienced. I can imagine experienced like fleets who are hunting marauders are not really going to care at all, just going to go straight through. But I think that it feels a little bit safer, but it would be a lot better in terms of DPS to go for some torpedo launchers because we would just get some insane DPS. I mean, we have 1.8k DPS with this. Go here, put some torpedo launchers. Then we'll get some nice DPS. Look here. Torpedo launcher. Oh, that's a lot of CPU usage, actually. Okay, and then we go Scourge Rage at 2.9k. Almost like 1,000 extra DPS from the torpedoes. It's quite crazy. I mean, it might even be worth it just because of how much extra DPS you get. Probably what you could do is like maybe warp at 50 or something, and put some range modules so that you get, you know, extra range out of it, and you could, you know, reach far with your torpedoes. Oh, a Dreadnought torpedo launcher gives you 3.1k DPS, and I've not actually got any damage implants in, so it could potentially get more DPS as well. Let's see now, 46-kilometer range. So if I were to have something like a missile guidance enhancer, so we put this here, And then maybe we could, instead of the target, and this is the thing, it would be nice to have a target painter, but on the other hand, I guess you don't really need it so much. It would be better just to have a range, because you apply really good to these battleships anyway. But let's say we remove this micro jump drive. Missile guidance computer. Something like this. And then we put a range script on. How was the range? 60 kilometers. So 60 kilometers is not that bad, actually. I mean, 60 kilometers is still reaching out pretty far. And you have to keep in mind, we're using the short range ammo as well. Say if stuff somehow gets out of range, which I'm very certain it will not because of how quickly we kill them, we could always switch to something like Caldari Navy, for example. 72 kilometer range. Ooh, that's actually quite impressive. And this thing also increases application. And we're using a meta one. I want to use Tech 2, that would be meta. But 72 kilometer range is really nice actually with these. And we could put maybe Javelin if we really need to. 108 kilometer range. And that's almost the same, pretty much the same DPS as we're getting with our cruise missiles right here. Obviously, the cruise missiles are a lot better because of how much more DPS they do, but still. Okay, this is a good test here. How good do we apply to these frigates? Because we're using Fury right here. The worst application variants of missiles or cruise missiles. I think it'll be quite interesting to see how we apply to these guys. Let's see now. Can we lock them up? There we go. Because the thing is, these frigates that we find in these higher tier anomalies, they tend to be also pretty fast and hard to hit. Like, look at that, 700 meters a second, going pretty quick. Oh, we're actually destroying him pretty quickly. It's not that bad. Yeah, it's pretty cool right there. Oh, he just survived. That lucky little, looks like a beetle. And the thing is, I guess if he comes close to us, we can always use our drones.
Has run out of charges.
You know, our drones, we can just have them there to do some extra complementary DPS. Obviously, it would be better to use Caldari Navy on this guy, but I mean, everything else is pretty much better to use just the Fury, so that's why I just may as well use the Fury. I do a lot more damage. But I think definitely I want to try this out with some torpedoes, because torpedoes would be really fun to see, actually. How they do so much more DPS, and still we've got some decent range as well. It's obviously going to not be as safe, because we would be quite close to the warping point and potentially get sniped a lot easier. I mean, this feels pretty fast. It's not crazy fast, though. I remember back in the day, I used to use a rattlesnake, torpedo rattlesnake, in fact. You can maybe find a video. It was one of the, pretty much the first EVE Online, or one of the first EVE Online videos I ever posted. It was in 2017, I think I posted it. And it was me using a torpedo rattlesnake, and that had 1.6k DPS. This is not so much more than that. So it doesn't feel crazily fast. I mean, it's still decent. It's not that bad. And considering how far we are away, and how much tank our ship has, is pretty good, I would say. But I definitely want to see how this does when it comes to torpedoes, because torpedoes would be really fun, I think. Just that insane DPS, 3k DPS, and something like a Paladin would also be pretty fun to see. Going with a really powerful Paladin, just blasting away in these nullsec anomalies. That'd be pretty good. One great thing about the Golem is that we get all the damage types. We can like switch the missile types to whatever we want, so we're able to switch it to the optimal damage type of EM right here. Very handy with the Golem. Unfortunately, you can't do that with Amarian ships locked to EM and thermal, or some kind of combination of the two. Very limiting in that regard, but they do have obviously their perks as well. Ooh, here's the last wave, I think. So we're gonna go and try to knock out these. Let's go for actually Caldari Navy, because there's 4 frigates and they're taking a long time to lock up. May as well have the optimal ammo type in by the time we lock them up. So we lock these guys up now, start shooting them. Let's see how good it applies. I wonder, maybe it'll apply a lot better. Okay, I think that's some decent. I mean, we one-shotted the shields almost. Yeah, I think it's alright. It doesn't feel that much better than Fury, actually, with the Caldari Navy. I guess it's a little bit faster. Yeah, it felt a little bit faster. The Golem really doesn't care at all about the incoming tank or incoming DPS. The only thing is that if there's like a Dreadnought, I think that in the 10 out of 10s, not the 10 out of 10s, but the Sanctums, these ones right here, we can get a Titan spawn, because in the Havens at least, I know you can get a Dreadnought. In fact, this happened quite a few times to me that I almost get popped by a Dreadnought. And I did get once popped a very long time ago in a VNI, where I got popped by a Serpentis Dreadnought. I think they can have a Titan spawn in here, so it feels maybe a little bit risky how you could have a Titan spawn in here, maybe even like one tap our Golem right here. So I don't know, perhaps you guys who are very experienced with nullsec routing and probably facepalm like, oh, his face. This is not at all viable because you'll sooner or later get popped by a Titan. I wouldn't be surprised. But I think that it has got enough tank to do the havens when if there was a Dreadnought here, because they can spawn a Dreadnought and it has a certain amount of DPS. I think that with our booster, we have enough tank to just about survive it. And that'll be good because then we can like unbast. As long as we're able to tank it, that's alright. Because then we can just unbastion 30 seconds. I think we have enough. We can use the booster for 1 minute is 56 seconds here. So we could just use the booster, and then by the time the bastions ended, we could just warp out, you know, then I'll be alright. I'm not really saying that you would be able to like run it, as in run it by destroying the Dreadnought, more like just run it as in survive. That's the main thing I'm concerned about, because they pack a punch, those Dreadnoughts. They really pack a punch. I get very confused with the Sancha in the nullsec anomalies, because they have, I think they have better armor tank than their shield tank. It's a little bit different, because Sancha cruisers, or Sancha frigates and like just Sancha cruisers and Sancha ships in general, they have pretty strong shields, like when it comes to the player ones. But when it comes to the NPC ones, they have armor, it seems like, because they drop these multi-spectrum energized coatings. You can see, or multi-spectrum energized membrane. Energized ones, you see these ones here? Centum is of the ones by the Sancha. So they're dropping armor modules, and you can also tell that their armor takes a bit of time to get through as well. So it's a bit strange how they work. They're not really correlated well with their loot. Should probably fix it so that the player Sancha ships are more armor focused. But and again, I probably can imagine a lot of people who bought expensive phantasms that are shield based are going to be more annoyed that their modules are not really worthwhile anymore. I can understand why maybe CCP didn't want to change it now that it's like been quite a while that this is the case. But they could also make it so that they maybe drop some kind of shield modules as well. Because the thing is, the Sancha, they are sort of like a combination of Caldari and Amar. That's at least the lore behind it. If we look here, if we go on a Nightmare, and we go and show info, you can see here Caldari battleship and Amar battleship. So they've got aspects of Caldari and Amar. So like these ships that we can fly, they're shield based, so a bit like Caldari. But then they're also using energy turrets, so they're a bit like Amar in that regard. Pop this guy, and I think this is the last wave. Like I think what has happened is that these rings, this spawns NPCs. So like there's like spawns that spawn across all these different rings right here. I think there are also different kinds of sanctums. I think apparently this ring, quote-unquote, ring sanctum is the best. That's at least what I remember from back in the day. People saying, oh, the ring sanctum is good. And there's a different one as well. Yeah, I think we're done here. There we go. That's a lot of NPCs chewed through in that Golem. It felt pretty smooth, but I would have liked to have a bit more DPS. Obviously could be increased with more implants. We have got, however, a lot of DPS mods, like this triple Dreadnought, ballistic control system, and bay-loading accelerator. So I don't know. I think that torpedoes would be really nice to see at least how they perform, because that would be so nice with the over 3k DPS. Whew, absolutely crazy. Okay, so there we go. Golem ratting in nullsec with a hybrid fit. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. I'll catch you guys later.